Star, the remix at Dekone Gold featuring Rick Ross. We love it. It's called 5 Star. The Beat, 97.9 FM, the heartbeats of Abuja. Welcome once again to Youth Power 2023. Every Tuesday, we have important personalities. In fact, the last few weeks, very interesting. We've had several presidential candidates and vice presidential candidates. And today is no different. We have someone very special with us right here. It's Itohan and Jordan on your drive time. Remember, you can be part of it via WhatsApp 0909 019 1979. Also, you can head over to Instagram or you can watch the video. Is at the Beat 97ABJ at the Beat 97ABJ. Okay, so that's it. So our guest today is the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress. It is Omoyele Sowore. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
You
yes.
Yes.
That's our alias name for all the candidates.
At this point, we can't say no.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome once again to the show. It's Youth Power 2023, and this is where we discuss all matters pertaining to politics and what we should be expecting come 2023. So you began your presidential campaign officially over the weekend in Kano State. I followed you all through where you introduced your manifesto.
That's right.
And from what I saw, I have your manifesto in front of me. It's called Moving Nigeria Forward.
Yes.
The 3 pillars: enhancing national security, promoting sustainable growth,
yes,
and enabling
self-sufficiency for the country. Yes.
If you want to put all of this into, a perspective, one after the other,
yes,
I've read through, and from what I saw was, we have our plans, we have our policies,
yes,
we have our plans, we have our policies. What are these plans and policies?
Well, the plans are to make sure Nigeria works for everybody by a range of interventions. And this has something to do with security, the energy sector, fighting corruption, ensuring that we restore our educational investments. We are not investing in our education as we should now. Healthcare, and a range of these are also free. We plan free healthcare for the most vulnerable Nigerians, every Nigerian, but particularly those who have never had access to it. And this is primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare for all of them. And that we want to increase employment by investing in public works. And when I say public works, is that we want to turn Nigeria into a construction site where everybody's building something, that we end them for participating in rebuilding or building Nigeria where it hasn't been built at all. In a range of these things, we also be enabled by technology. So the way we describe it is called Plan Spicer Hits. The hits at the last part of it, then technology and tourism. And now we are also adding entertainment and sports, because we have realized over these years that Nigeria is almost practically being sustained by sports and entertainment in terms of, they've become our own diplomatic avenue to reach the world. We got great sports people playing soccer, running, and doing track and field. And also that entertainment has become our eyes into the world and the world eyes into Nigeria. In fact, if we didn't have entertainers, we'll probably have nothing left these days, because we failed so badly in a range of places that nobody counts our education worthy anymore. Nobody counts our healthcare system worthy. You're aware that our president just took another 2 weeks to 3 weeks trip to London for Medicare, as he does from time to time. Nobody counts our electricity worthy. We can't even call it sporadic or epileptic anymore. It's not worth to be called. Our security situation is terrible. Corruption has eaten deeper and deeper into the body politic of the country. We need our country to be revived through restructuring. So we call these things Spicer Heat. And that we need a complete re-engineering of our economic system. Because for so long, our economic system has been the one dictated by the World Bank and the IMF. I call them international monetary fraud, because it just merely killed our industries and turned us into dumping ground for all kinds of industries and importers of goods, services, both new and old. So nobody used to wear used clothes in Nigeria in the 70s, 80s. In fact, When I was growing up, it was a taboo to eat frozen fish. They call it the dead bodies of Lagos. You get my point. So, but where are we today? We can't even find frozen food to eat. We are now eating headless fishes or bodiless fishes just to make ends meet.
And you think your party can do all of this in less than 8 years? Because I think as I read a particular part of your manifesto that said you are going to achieve all of this in 4 years.
In the first 4 years, as per electricity, we're targeting over 10 to 20 million houses that will be fitted with electricity. And we intend to increase generation by between 20,000 and 24,000 megawatts. Added to what we have now, it take us to 30. Our goal in 8 years is 60 to 65 megawatts of electricity.
How do you intend to do that? Because
investment.
Our dams right now are not producing so much.
I'm not relying on dams. I'm relying on new sources, a range of mixes of electricity.
So you're bringing in new stuff.
Yes, like not only are we going to increase our electrical output, but we also have to transition by staying away from fossil fuel powered electrical systems into renewable energy. Like 5,000 megawatts of electricity can be generated from Kano alone. I flew into Kano, as you know, and already people in Kano are already creating solar fields for electricity. You go around in this Abuja, a lot of roofs are already growing electricity on their own. And we also intend to break down the archaic national grid system and regionalize grids. Let everybody use electricity produced in their area, and also to retail electricity. How do I mean? If you grow electricity on this street, everybody has solar on their roof. If they have excess, we'll give you a different kind of meter, and you can sell to the federal government or electricity companies, as long as they are sure that your meter is putting out excess electricity. What do you think that will do? A lot of people will produce more solar power than they need, and because it now becomes a source of revenue as well, apart from powering their appliances.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, a lot of people are very eager about what the next president will do about security because it's a question that lots of people want answers to once and for all. Now, as a presidential aspirant, if you become the president, looking at your blueprint, enhancing national security as number one,
Yes.
and you said you have plans, you have policies to
Yes.
engage that. And a particular line from your manifesto said you were going to look into, identify the causes, and all of this surrounding the borders and everything is
Yes.
stated in your manifesto. How do you intend to do it differently from all governments that have come before you?
Well, the governments that came before us are governments that believe in one type of security, and it is gun, driven or weapon driven security. Forgetting that we didn't get to the point that we're in now without a major violation of the most important security in the nation and globally, social security. What is social security? That you guarantee your citizen opportunities, privileges, rights, social, economic rights that puts them in a comfortable position where they don't have to go and commit crime to find food. And this has to do with investment in education, an industrial revolutionary system in which people have jobs to do. I, for instance, as president of Nigeria, will be hiring some 200,000 teachers to go back to our classroom so that we can take out all these 20 million kids that are not going to school. I'm going to invest heavily in a tertiary education system and not burden parents with paying school fees.
And you said it's going to be almost free.
It's not almost free. We are planning free education.
Free education.
Yeah, there's no investment that is big. And if you know how that old saying that if you don't invest in education, you can try out the cost of ignorance. And that's where we are already. We refuse to invest in education in a consistent manner.
With the amount of money that ASU has been asking for the last few months, you think you can work with that amount and even do more?
Yes. ASU is asking for 1.3 trillion naira.
Yes.
Yeah. They want it to be broken into 4 places and paid to them in 4 tranches. When they first went on a strike that I was aware of in the early 90s, when I was student union president at University of Lagos, when Atahiru Jega, who was former NX chairman, was ASU president, they were asking for 3 billion. At that time, Nigeria had just come out of a major windfall, what they call the Gulf oil windfall. we made over $12 billion excess. They were asking for $3 billion. Converted at that time, $1 billion would have done all the magic, but they refused to give the money to us. Instead, the money was stolen, frittered away by the Babangida regime. The reports are there. I know you are cringing. Oh my God, don't worry about this. I am a presidential candidate, so they can sue me if they find this not to be true, but it's true. And ASU ended up not getting what was promised. Now, I'll break it down to you again. They're asking for 200 billion, but this one won't make you cringe. The Accountant General of Nigeria was found to have taken home 200 billion.
That is not. Cannot be.
That's what the EFCC told us. That's what the EFCC, an official, government agency. They said they've even found another 50 billion, making it 250 billion. One person took what should have been used to settle us to strike. And you are saying, people keep asking us, where's the money? Where's the money? People are having access to money the way they like. They are building houses, they are building mansions, they are buying planes, and the rest of us are being told, where's the money? You have lawmakers in this country, in both houses, National Assembly, who are earning maximum wage, 30 million naira, 40 million naira every month. The rest of the workers are earning 30,000. If you want to get money, put all the lawmakers on minimum wage and see who we want to make laws in this country.
So all of this put together, you think you can sustain the education?
Absolutely. Well, I'm just digressing so that you would understand analogically where we are, so that nobody keep deceiving you about where is the money, because there's enough money to go around. But Nigeria has chosen wrongly to invest in the greedy instead of catering to the needy. And that's been our story for years now. Nigeria is like 62 years old, October this year. And this has been our story, a story of misappropriation of funds, wrong priorities, wrong-headed policies. So I come back to policies. We want to harness the opportunities the country has to develop by way of putting in place the right policies and putting in place the right people, because we have also spent a huge amount of time putting inappropriate people in appropriate positions. Mediocrity has become one of the most important policies of governance in this country, and mediocres cannot produce great nations.
Okay, so let's talk about the structure of African Action Congress. Now, looking at it, come 2023, you're hoping to definitely pull off, great polls, having people come out to vote for you,
yes,
and all of those. Looking at the strength of your party, you as a candidate, and other persons who might be running for office in other states, would you say that your party is strong enough to be third force come 2023?
We are not looking to be third force. Accepting that you are third force already defeats the purpose of existence. That means there's a first and second force. If you already see yourself as third, what are you doing in an election you intend to win? We are out to win the election. We are out to change this country for good. And we've put enough candidates we feel are capable within the shortest time available to us, within the constraints thrown our way, in place to change Nigeria in a revolutionary way with revolutionary leadership. So we used to say in this country, Nigeria, and people used to laugh at us. Now, one of the parties that just came into existence is also saying the same thing, that when people find the right parties, they will jump on they will construct themselves around the structures needed to win elections. But the question you should ask yourself is if we are going to experience free and fair elections, which was what has always been a bane of democratic development.
Okay, so are you also the latest that we've had the last few days? The group Afenifere throwing their weights behind some candidates. We've heard that it looks like the entire group is divided, trying to support one person or the other. And you coming from the southwest, do you feel you feel short in any way, knowing that this particular group has thrown their weight behind other candidates?
With due respect, Afenifere is not known to have any political structure that is credible enough to win election.
But some candidates feel that's why they think they need to go to them.
Candidates in election go to all kinds of places. They go to shrines, some people enter coffins, all kinds of stupid things. We are after, winning the people over to our side. I have spoken about it even in newspaper that I felt very goofed by choosing pushing their tent with any of these candidates because they can't win elections for them. Number one, they should have done something more intelligent, in my view. Allow all the candidates like the Arewa did, bring them to Kaduna. In this case, bring them to Ibadan at Mapoho, and let them speak to the Southwest people and let the Southwest people decide who they want to vote for. This is not the first time Afenifere will endorse people who lose elections. They endorsed Jonathan. You've seen that ridiculous picture of Southwest traditional rulers pointing their, official sticks at Jonathan. Did it take him anywhere? No.
So when you go to the Southwest now, what exactly would you be looking out for?
I go to
what
South.
what we be talking about? And the people you
We're
need
talking
to
about the
endorse?
issues. We're talking about the Southwest people. I know what because that's where I come from. They're particular about education, industrialization. They are particular about infrastructure. They're particular about strong healthcare systems. That's where I grew up. That's why the Southwesterners are still about Awolowo because this is the last time they saw like great governance and policy pull them out of poverty, ignorance, and diseases. And that's what people should be talking about, not some 94-year-old, 93-year-old man sitting in his living room and forcing their will on people who are likely young people who don't even know how to pronounce their real names. I respect these old people. I don't have problem with old people, but I don't particularly fancy old ideas. And the mentality that at the age of 94, you want to be, they should be with their grand.
And that's why people seek their counsel.
Yeah, you have wise, wise young people too. And you have old people who are not particularly smart.
Okay, well, we're still speaking to the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress. He is Omoyele Sowore. Jordan, you have the next question.
Okay, so you have such an unbelievable online presence, and of course, beyond social media, you've made your presence felt and your impact felt as well in a massive way. I want you to speak to us from the lens of a man who could be president next year. What's your thought process? Where's your mind at right now?
Well, it depends contextually what you're asking for. My mind is in a lot of places. So my mind is here, my mind is home, my mind is abroad. Because I have shared interests everywhere. I have kids who I've not seen for 3 years. I have a wife who I've not seen for a long time. I have friends, I have colleagues, I have a whole diaspora of Nigerians. It goes there up to 6 million of them who are interested in a functioning country. So my mind is everywhere. My mind is in education, in technology. My mind is in development. My mind is in stopping the bleeding that Nigeria has been experiencing for a long time now. My mind is in peace, prosperity, and progress for this country. I wish I could just wake up and wave a magic wand. If Nigeria is functioning as electricity, people find jobs. The trains are working. Our our airports are functioning, including something as little as the toilets. Because it's an eyesore. It's traveling around Nigeria these days. Being in a society where lecturers don't go on strike, students are, fulfilling their calendar and mandates and graduating into a functioning society. My mind's all over the place, so I'm asking you to be specific when you ask that kind of question.
In terms of,
and my mind is
as irrelevant because they had made themselves puppets for some politicians. You also described them not too young to run.
I never described youth as puppet. Yeah, and I was. It was 4 years ago when they were making it. 5 years ago when not too young to run was made a big deal. I told them it would take them nowhere if young people don't come to the front lines to take over power, and I have been proven right. All the people that went to sign the law into not too young to run have now, I told them, I said, if you don't take power, power will take you. And this has happened. All the not too young to run laws, how many young people has it produced as leaders to today? None. In fact, the guys who went to meet Buhari 4 years ago to sign as youths, they're no longer young people. They're no longer considered as, some of them have outgrown the age bracket for youth. Because you're not supposed to even beg in the first place for you to take over power. And I think the vice president at that time, Oshiba, just said it, that when young people are ready, they will go for power.
So how has your party engaged them since 2019 up until now?
Most people in our party are young people, to the point that we find it awkward to name somebody a youth leader of a youth party. You understand? Where we're having
predominantly youth party.
Yes, where we're having challenges, which we must admit, is like we're finding fewer and fewer females, wanting to take political risk and join political parties. So we're working on that. But I wish that we have equal number of females and males in our party, young females and young men too in our party. But for some reason, it's also part of how the system has beaten down women so much that they don't they don't find that they have not reached that point of confidence where participation in politics is something they are willing to do, because there's a lot of blackmail. If you're a young female and you go out to a political meeting and you come back in the midnight, you know what society will call you. If you are vocal, they will call you names, and they have means of just, controlling the thoughts and feelings of and aspirations of young people. Ours is a patriarchal society. There's no question about it. Let's just admit that men still run this place.
But other parties are looking at including the 35% affirmative action.
But the question you should ask yourself is that there are, at least at this point, almost 30 governorship candidates. Only one state has a female candidate for governorship, and she's been kicked out of the race by court order.
We're still hoping
that she'll come back. He's not telling you that. So just go and look at the population of people. We shouldn't be talking about percentage of appointments. But I was with INEC a few days ago. I think last week we had a meeting with INEC, and we were looking at the population of voters. Women across board are 50%. Meaning that if all the women decide on a candidate and they vote for the person has won almost automatically. So with a handful of men voting for you, I wish women could have a secret meeting, put out a female candidate, and vote for the person. Let the men wake up and let men wake up one day and like.
But you remember that another party I won't mention just inaugurated like a women campaign team within themselves. That's because they think that yes, this thing is actually achievable by talking to women.
It's a gimmick. You understand? Let me tell you, the idea of setting aside women sections and parties are also discriminatory in my view. For instance, I'm always opposed to Ministry of Women Affairs. What's the meaning of that? Where is the Ministry of Men Affairs? You're saying that there's only one ministry meant for women, and they're so ridiculous at doing it. The Commissioner of Women Affairs in Adamawa State was a male under Bindo. In the last election, APC had a male, contesting to be the women leader of the party. This Abuja, we saw the posters, because they are ridiculous about it. They don't believe that women deserve a space, a seat on the table where decisions are made. Why should we be allocating 35% to women when there are more women in the population of the country than you have men? It's ridiculous. Let's have it 50-50, or let's even have more women, because women have shown that they can multitask. They have babies, they cook, they wash, they still go to work. Something they shouldn't be doing. Men are just like hanging around TV, watching Chelsea, beating.
It looks like you're a Chelsea fan.
No, I'm not. I don't even know. I don't even know which one is which when it comes to soccer. But there was a time that I fell in love with Tottenham because of the crazy coach. I thought it was Mourinho when he coached them for a bit. I like his attitude towards. This is just like a counterculture coach. That's something in my DNA. But that's the last time I would say like I was close to him.
I see. So do you think that associating with youths would win the election for you? Because I saw during the NSAS memorial, you showed up there, trying to commiserate with the families, and you were quite vocal during that time as well. So engaging and focusing on youths, do you think it will win the election for you?
I'm not doing it to win election. This has been part of my makeup. I've been fighting for this country since I was, I'll say officially since I was 18 years old when I got admission into the University of Lagos. So I'm not associating with this. Has always been me. I always fight against injustice. I've always been part of every major resistance movement in this country. I've been part of it. I've been part of every major election, every major transition in this country. I've fought against the military, fought against civilians. and I am fought against multinational corporations, private individuals, powerful, uh, individuals at every level. So I'm not doing it. I didn't go to Lagos to go and associate with youth. I might look youthful, but I'm not that young, and I'm 51 years old.
So you're not young. You're not. At least you say you're not a youth.
Officially, no.
Officially, you're
Yeah,
not a youth.
that's the truth.
But looking at it, you just might be the youngest.
No, there are
you just
candidates.
might
There's
be.
a 38-year-old candidate,
Oh, okay, so you.
and there is a 50-year-old guy.
Okay.
So I'm in the middle.
You're in the middle.
Yeah, but
Well, you're
but
still
nothing
relatively
close
young.
to the ancestors who are contesting.
Okay, so using that as a focus, taking into consideration of polls, you've heard of polling different ideas. When those polls come, like and you realize that probably your party is not on the table of those leading as it concerns polling. They call it opinion polls. Do you tend to go back to the drawing board to re-strategize on what to do?
When I was doing my master's, I studied statistics. That was one of the major courses, and that was Columbia University in New York. And one of the things that we're taught is that pollsters can also be fraudsters. You can rig a poll more than you can rig an election. You just need to look for where to find people who will load in the direction of your own bias. So if I want to poll this room to say who would you vote for, I could have had a conversation before we come into the room and say it's opinion poll, but at the end of the day, it's not opinion poll. But the other part of it is that you look at the size, the sample size of any poll. If it is low, you know that the pollster is trying to play pranks. And that's what we've seen with the polls. One of it was very, very biased. The first one that came was the Anam NY polls, Anam being Peter Side at Tedo, who is Peter Obi's campaign manager. So, yeah, and NY was Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. These are Peter Obi's people. And they went and did a poll. Who do you expect? And there's a Yoruba adage that it's the person that the flies are, nicest to the person with the wound. So because they can always jump on the wound. So it's the same thing with the other one that came from I think it's not Reuters, it's Bloomberg. The sample size. They didn't tell us who did you sample, who did you talk to. Did you go to Kano at Naibawa Park to ask about the candidates you said might likely win? Most likely not. And I challenged them because I lived in America for 20 years. I know all these tricks. Apart from learning about them in the university, I also know that they use them for tricks like this. There was a time, this is not it's recent, where most of the people, the intellectuals in the US, the people who they call liberals, wanted, a female to win the presidency of the US in the name of Hillary Clinton. And they wrote off Trump. They used polls to pepper him, as we call it here. But he won because when they were confronted with real results, they ignored it because that's not what they were expecting to happen. They had different expectations as to the outcome of that election. And Trump won because he ignored and the real uh, efforts of polls. But the other thing about polls is that if you conduct a poll and the size of undecided is more than that of the decideds on both sides, then your poll has a problem. If you conduct a poll where the sample size is too small, or where you collected your sample from a polluted part of the river, you are going to get an outcome that will reflect what exactly you want.
So it doesn't bother you
at all.
It doesn't bother your party.
Yeah, it's also that you have to understand that Nigerians are not there yet in terms of NY.
Usually on Twitter, when you see tweets coming for you, when you see what's going on social media, across social media platforms, as a party, looking at popularity again with other political parties, are you certain that you're winning this election?
In the political party that had the most presence on Twitter may not likely win the votes on ground because you look at where the biggest populations are in Nigeria, Kano. If you compare the number of people in Kano with PVC, the poverty verification card, compared with the number of people who are on Twitter, you'll be shocked that most people may not even know what Twitter is.
Why did you call it poverty verification?
Well, that's my own definition of it.
But people need it to vote.
Yes,
right? They would use it to vote for you.
Yes, but they also would bribe them because they're poor to vote against their own conscience. That's why I call it that. You just grant me some license.
That's not the right word. You could get in trouble for that.
No, you're not gonna. Nobody will get in trouble for using satirical words on radio. So, but let's move on. So you want to look at Kano. Would you believe that everybody in Kano is on Twitter? No. The preponderance of the people on Twitter, generally, if you look at the population, because I work on, I had an online website. If I tell you that most people are in Lagos and Abuja, don't be surprised. But the people that even have the data and the time and the energy to tweet the most are diasporas, and they may not come home to vote.
Okay, so
I know this because I had huge diaspora support. Okay. So in 2019.
We begin to wrap up. We just have a few minutes left before it's.
I can't believe
how time flies when you're doing something really important. Okay, so every past government looks like they become saints when the new administration comes on board.
Yeah.
And looking at all the policies that have come on board since 1999, can you pick one particular one that you found really interesting that you might just replicate as a party?
Completely no.
None?
I mean, where do I start? Is it a policy that spent $16 billion to generate darkness? No. Or is it the one that claims that they are paying people to grow rice, set up a rice pyramid in this Abuja, and after the pyramid was dismantled, rice became even more expensive? The rice that we're supposed to be growing. And by the way, it's an anomaly to put rice on top of, bags of rice on top of it and kept outside to show that they're good. They'll probably just put sand in there.
So there's nothing,
So maybe you should tell me what. Maybe you can juggle my memory.
No, that's why I'm wondering.
I'm just telling you. You're asking me. I'm telling you. There's nothing. There's nothing. I mean, is it road construction?
So
is it electricity?
You're starting all over again.
Security. All those cool things about the country, is it even the most touted unity of Nigeria? Nigeria has become more polarized in the last 62 years. Nigeria is more polarized now than after the Civil War. You understand, in 1970. So point me in one direction. Is it education? Is it healthcare? Is it water supply? Is it transportation?
So it looks like you have a lot of work if you become.
Of course, that's what I'm telling you. And those who are watching and listening, vote for the right guys who know what to do. We have to turn back, things, and we have to make it roundabout turn and start moving in the right direction very quickly. And we don't have time because Nigeria itself, if it continues on this trajectory, is living on borrowed times.
All right. You just finished from Kano. You're headed where next?
Jos.
Yes. Okay, so you're still within the northern side before you move.
We'll keep moving wherever the spirit directs us.
We have spirits in this one.
No, it's a joke, man.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking with the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore. Thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully before the polls eventually happen, you might just come back.
I'll be back, and hopefully you guys get to talk to some of the other presidential candidates, the suspects who don't like radio.
It's still the 97.9